Good morning, students. Today our chapter is life process and the topic is respiration. In the previous topic, we have discussed about human nutrition. So we were discussing about nutrition. Even before that, we were discussing about nutrition in other animals. By nutrition, we have already seen that since the food is obtained and the food is digested, now the food is being absorbed by the cells of the multicellular organism. From this food, the energy has to be derived, that is, energy has to be released so that each and every cells gets the required energy. Now let us talk about the process through which the energy can be released, and that is called as respiration. So respiration is a process in which the required energy is released through a process in which the food is oxidized. So the food is oxidized in order to release energy, and this process is called as respiration. The respiration can be of two types: aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. You know it already, you must have heard about these two terms, aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Now let us talk about these one by one. First of all, let us talk about aerobic respiration. In case of aerobic respiration, oxygen is required in order to release energy. So in case of aerobic respiration, the food is oxidized with the help of oxygen to release carbon dioxide, water and energy. So we require energy in our daily activities, so energy has to be released outside. That is the main motive of food which we get. Now, there are certain organisms where the oxygen is not required. So in such cases we say it as anaerobic respiration. So here the oxygen is not required in order to release energy. So, but the common thing in both these processes is that as the food enters inside the cell in the cytoplasm, a process called glycolysis occurs. Glycolysis. This is common in both aerobic respiration as well as anaerobic respiration. So what happens in glycolysis? The food, or we can say the glucose, which is a 6-carbon molecule, is converted into 3-carbon substance, which is called as pyruvate. So this happens in cytoplasm. So the process which is involved in conversion of 6-carbon molecule to 3-carbon molecule is glycolysis, common in both aerobic respiration as well as in anaerobic respiration. Now let us see about the process of respiration in many cases. What happens? Now see, glucose 6-carbon molecule gets converted into pyruvate, common to any kind of respiration. In case of yeast cell, as you know, fermentation occurs. So here this 3-carbon structure changes into 2-carbon structure called as ethanol, with the release of carbon dioxide and energy happens in yeast cell. Now in case of mussels, sometimes they do not get the required oxygen, enough oxygen, if the process of exercise is very fast. In case of muscles, what happen is the pyruvate is converted into lactic acid. Lactic acid and energy. Now, let us see what happens in case of aerobic respiration. This pyruvate is converted into 3 molecules of carbon dioxide with the release of water and energy. Now, this aerobic respiration, this is aerobic respiration. This is taking place in case of yeast fermentation. This in muscles, muscle cells. So, what is the difference between aerobic respiration and other forms of anaerobic respiration? The difference is huge amount of energy is released in case of aerobic respiration as it takes place in mitochondria. The process involved, there is a particular cycle which takes place in case of mitochondria. It is called as Krebs cycle. Krebs cycle, which occurs in mitochondria, and it is responsible for release of large amount of energy as compared to anaerobic respiration. Okay. Now, let us talk about certain other things. You must have heard about this term ATP. Actually, it is a short form. The full form is called as adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine triphosphate, because 3 phosphate are included in this, so it is called as adenosine triphosphate. This is called as energy currency of the cell. Energy currency of the cell, because in case of in mitochondria, the energy is converted into a form which is called as ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Now, this is a kind of currency which is used, which is utilized in certain process, in many process, in order to carry out the life processes as such, you can say, such as it is used in protein synthesis, it is used for muscular contraction, it is used for impulse conduction, that is conduction of impulse. Now, this ATP is used. Now, what happens to this ATP in these processes? This ATP gets converted into ADP plus inorganic phosphate plus with the release of energy. Now, the amount of energy released when the ATP breaks down in ADP and PI with the help of water is about 30.5 kilojoule per mole. That is the amount of energy which is released during the process when ATP is converted into ADP plus PI. Now, in order to carry out processes such as protein synthesis, muscular contraction, impulse conduction, the ATP breaks down into ADP and PI so that energy can be released. Okay, I hope you have understood this. So, now let us talk about aerobic respiration in case of plants. Aerobic respiration in plants, how it takes place. See, as you know that plants have stomata in their greener parts, and you know that stomata opens up so that the diffusion of gases can take place, that is exchange of gases can take place. You are well aware of the fact that stomata are found more on the dorsal surface of the leaves as compared to the ventral surface, just to prevent transpiration, because water that is converted to water vapor and it escapes through stomata. So, in order to prevent the rate of transpiration, the stomata are more situated in the lower surface as compared to the upper surface, because here the direct sunlight falls. So, naturally it wants to prevent rate of transpiration, it wants to prevent the escape of water in form of water vapor through plants. So, naturally that is the reason why the stomata is situated in the lower part, that is the dorsal part of the leaves. Okay. Now, we will be talking about exchange of gases through stomata. As you know the structure of the stomata, you are well aware, it consists of guard cells, and these outer part are called as subsidiary cells. Here they are in the guard cell, there are certain structures which are called as chloroplast, where the green pigments or chlorophyll is present. The guard cell also contains a structure which is called as nucleus. So, this is the stomatal pore, through which the exchange of gases takes place. These are the guard cells, and these are the subsidiary cells, also called as accessory cells. So, through this, because of the opening of the stomata, the gases are exchanged. Okay. Now, what happens during the night time? You know that during the night time, since sunshine is not falling on the leaves, therefore the plant cannot perform photosynthesis. It can only perform respiration. See, these two processes, respiration and photosynthesis, takes place in plant. Respiration takes place 24 hours, because naturally the oxygen is also required in case of plants, but photosynthesis only occurs during the daylight. So, during the night hours, what happens is that the carbon dioxide used to get released from the stomata, because carbon dioxide is now not being used up in the process of photosynthesis. So, excess amount of carbon dioxide naturally, because of the process of respiration, will be released outside from the stomata. Now, that is the reason why you must have heard that you should not sleep under the big tree, because naturally the big plant will compete with you for the oxygen, and it will be releasing carbon dioxide, which will not be good for health. Okay. Now, during the night, carbon dioxide will be the major gas which will be released from the stomata. But what will happen during the daytime? what will happen during the daytime? During the daytime, you know that the photosynthesis will take place. So, if the photosynthesis is taking place, naturally there will be requirement for carbon dioxide. You know, for the preparation of glucose, or you can say carbohydrate, carbon dioxide is utilized, or you can say the carbon dioxide is fixed, or you can say carbon dioxide is reduced during this process. So, the excess amount of carbon dioxide which is normally released in the process of respiration will be utilized for the fixing of carbon dioxide, that is for the conversion of carbon dioxide into carbohydrate. So, naturally carbon dioxide will not be released from the guard cell because it will be consumed in the process of photosynthesis. So, what will be the gas which will be released from the stomata? It is oxygen. So, naturally during the daytime oxygen is released by the plants. Okay. Now let us study the human respiration. It is again a topic in life process. Now, as you know, the air is drawn through the nostrils, and in the nostrils we find number of hairs as well as mucus which is secreted in the nasal passage. Now, the work of the mucus as well as the hair is not to allow the harmful microorganism to enter inside the windpipe and then later on in the lungs cavity. So, the air passes through the nostrils, it again enters a common passage which is called as pharynx. Now, it is common to both the opening of the nasal cavity as well as the oral cavity. Then from here the air enters inside the windpipe, or also called as, it is also called as trachea. Now, during the act of swallowing, in order to prevent the food to enter inside the windpipe, there is a structure called as epiglottis. Epiglottis. It is situated just above the glottis part. Now, the glottis part is the above part of the trachea. Now, this cartilaginous flap-like structure, it does not allow the food particles to enter the windpipe, and the trachea has incomplete ring-like structure, as you can see. This prevents the collapse of trachea. So, this helps in preventing the collapse of trachea. The air from this trachea, now this part is called as bronchi, as the trachea divides into right and left part of the lungs. This is the lungs, this is the bifurcation, these parts of trachea being divided. This is called as primary bronchi. The primary bronchi divides and redivides to form secondary, tertiary bronchi, bronchioles, and later on ending into a balloon like structure which you can observe here. These are called as alveoli. These are made up of very single thin layer structure so that diffusion can occur very easily. Now, I am going to draw this alveoli structure in order to explain the exchange of gases. Let me use this space, this part as such. Okay. Now, this balloon like structure, as you can observe here, I am going to draw here. This is the end part of the bronchioles. It is a balloon like structure, very thin membrane, and these are the blood capillaries. Now, from the heart, the deoxygenated blood moves through the pulmonary artery, and then it reaches the heart, it reaches the lungs. inside the lungs it divides and redivides to form minute, very thin capillaries. See, like this. Suppose this is the pulmonary artery. After reaching the lungs, it is being divided into very thin capillaries so that the diffusion can occur very easily. Now these capillaries are distributed just very near to the each alveoli, so that the exchange process, exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen can occur very easily. Now the deoxygenated blood, as it arrives from the heart, it contains lot amount of carbon dioxide as compared to oxygen, and therefore the partial pressure of the carbon dioxide is here very more as compared to partial pressure of oxygen. Inside the alveoli, partial pressure of the oxygen is more as compared to carbon dioxide. Therefore, the oxygen which is present here in more quantity will move towards the blood capillaries, and carbon dioxide which is present in the blood capillaries in more amount will definitely move in the opposite direction to this place. So as the oxygen is coming from this side to this side and carbon dioxide is moving from blood capillaries to alveoli, this will occur in each alveoli which is surrounded by the blood capillaries. So naturally what will happen is, here it is called as pulmonary artery containing more CO2 and less O2. This here the exchange will occur, that is carbon dioxide will move outside and then oxygen will come inside in the blood capillaries. Again all these blood capillaries rejoin to form pulmonary vein. This pulmonary vein will be carried to the heart, and since this pulmonary vein contains more amount of oxygen, that is this blood is oxygenated blood, naturally the heart will circulate all the oxygenated blood to all the cells which are present in the body, supplying all the cells with enough amount of oxygen. Now I hope you have understood this process. Okay, now let us talk about the lungs. The lungs, it lies behind the body, deeper part, so it lies in the deeper part of the body, and as you know it is a very delicate organ. In between the two lungs, here also it is the same lungs is present here. In between the two lungs lies the heart. Now the lungs is protected by the outer two layers. One is called as outer pleural membrane and another one is called as inner pleural membrane. In between the pleural membrane there is a fluid which protects the lungs from the external shock. Now you know the trachea is bifurcating into primary bronchi, secondary bronchi, as you can see in the diagram. This is a diaphragm, a muscular wall like structure which divides the whole cavity into thoracic cavity and abdominal cavity. The part which is present above the diaphragm, it is the thoracic cavity, and the part which is present just below the diaphragm, it is called as abdominal cavity. Now let us understand the mechanism how the lungs function. See, the total thoracic cavity, where at times the size increases and it is responsible for inspiration, or you can say inhalation of the gases. Now I will make you understand with a small diagram. See, suppose this is the total volume present in the chest cavity. If this particular volume is increased from this let us suppose I am increasing the total area to this. See, now the volume has increased. So naturally, the gases which were earlier present were very nearer to each other. What was the reason? The volume was less. Now since the volume has become more, these gas particles will be present at some distance. They will be present at some distance because now the space is more. So these gas particles will actually put pressure on the outer membrane. When the total volume was less, this pressure was more. Now when the volume has become more, this pressure becomes less. Now if suppose this volume becomes more, what will happen is even the lungs volume will become more, or you can say the lungs will occupy now a greater space. Because of that, the pressure, the air pressure inside the lungs will decrease as compared to the pressure outside. And you know, this difference in air pressure will be responsible for, so that now the air will pass from the nostrils and enter the lungs cavity. That is just because of this reason. Now, how the mechanism operates, how it is possible? You see, this is a diaphragm. This is, at present it is dome shaped structure. As you can see, it is a dome shaped structure. Now what happens is, if suppose this becomes flattened, or you can say it contracts, then it bends downward. It bends downward, and that is responsible for increase in lungs cavity, or you can say the thoracic cavity. Increase in thoracic cavity will indirectly increase the total lungs capacity, or you can say the total lungs area, and that will be responsible for decrease in pressure, air pressure inside the lungs. And naturally, since the difference of air pressure in the lungs and outside in the atmosphere, it will become more, so naturally the air will rush from the nostrils through the lungs, and this is called as inspiration. The reverse happens in case of exhalation. Now the dome shaped diaphragm, again it regains its original shape and size, that it gets relaxed. In that particular condition, what will happen? That will put pressure on the thoracic cavity also, as the thoracic cavity, the size of the thoracic cavity will decrease, and that will also decrease the total lungs cavity, that is the space of the lungs, that will get decreased. Due to this decrease in the lungs area, naturally the pressure will become more, and if the pressure will become more, that will be responsible for the air which is present in the lungs now will move outside through the nostrils, and that is how exhalation takes place. I must tell you here that in case of human beings, hemoglobin is present, which has a very high affinity for oxygen as compared to carbon dioxide. Therefore, most of the oxygen it gets associated with hemoglobin for its transportation. Carbon dioxide being more dissolved in blood, naturally it will be dissolved in blood, it will move through blood and not through hemoglobin. So much of the carbon dioxide is transported in the blood. That means you can also say most of the carbon dioxide is transported through blood. Thank you. I hope you like this topic. Thank you very much.